What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first episode of the Below Ground podcast. I'm your host, Jimmy, where I dig beneath the surface. No niche, no script, just honest conversations about the things we see every day, but never really stop to think about. And for the first episode, I wanted to start with something completely random. Chinese buffets. Yes, Chinese buffets. Because honestly, I've had this question in the back of my mind for years. How are these places still in business? Think about it. You walk into a Chinese buffet, and there's always somebody who looks like they're preparing for a natural disaster. They're not getting dinner, they're gathering resources. There's a guy on a 6 plate of General Tso's chicken. Someone is stacking sushi and shrimp onto their plate like it's the last seafood supply on Earth. And somehow, that restaurant is still making money. And that's what fascinates me the most. Because on paper, the business model makes no sense. You have unlimited food with customers actively trying to beat the restaurant. You have rising food costs, labor costs, higher rent, property tax, insurance, etc. Yet somehow, even after decades later, Chinese buffets are still everywhere. So the question isn't just, how do Chinese buffets make money? The bigger question is, why have Chinese buffets survived when so many other restaurants have failed? You know, when I was growing up, going to a Chinese buffet wasn't just about going out to eat. It was an event. It was an experience. This is where your parents would take you after getting their paycheck after a long work week and didn't feel like cooking at home. My goal, once I have children, is I'm going to bless my children with the experience of going to a Chinese buffet. But I am pretty sure, though, that there was one time in grade school where my teachers took us, the class, to a Chinese buffet for a field trip. I vaguely remember getting like a chocolate vanilla swirl ice cream cone and putting those sugar-coated peanuts that they had in a tray at the bar on top of the ice cream, and I remember leaving the restaurant with that. Where Chinese buffets solve problems, most restaurants typically create one problem. Everybody has to agree on what they want to eat. Let's say Jimmy wants burgers, Johnny wants tacos, Sally wants seafood, Susie wants something healthy, which always makes choosing one restaurant that serves one type of food difficult. But the Chinese buffets have solved that problem completely. You want lo mein? They got it. You want orange chicken? They got it. You want sushi and seafood? They got it. And for some reason you want pizza? They probably got that too. Nobody has to compromise at a Chinese buffet. Everybody wins. Somebody will find something to eat at a Chinese buffet. But here's where things get interesting. The Chinese buffet isn't just about the food. It's about the entire experience. Because every Chinese buffet has this feeling where the second you walk in, you know exactly where you are. First of all, let's talk about the name. Because before you even get inside the restaurant, there's a good chance the sign out front said something like number 1 Chinese buffet or NO.1 Chinese restaurant. I don't know who decided this, but apparently every Chinese owner sat down in the same marketing meeting and when it came to a name for their restaurant. Because there always is a number 1. Google it. I challenge you to Google Chinese buffets in your area, in your state, and see if there is one named around that's got number 1 in their name or some variation of number 1. But what exactly are they number 1 in? Are they number 1 in food quality? Maybe customer service? The most crab rangoons ate in one sitting? Nobody actually knows. Was there maybe a tournament? Did 2 buffet owners fight for the championship and one lost because their egg rolls weren't crispy enough? I need answers. But then you walk inside the restaurant, and the carpet looks like it survived both world wars, the giant fish tank or koi pond in the lobby that's sitting there, and those fish have seen some things, man, let me tell you. Those fish have watched thousands of people walk into that restaurant saying, I'm not that hungry. They know you're lying. They've seen the 3rd plate. Or the amount of people that walk in there with all the confidence in the world thinking that they're going to eat this place at a house and home and barely make it past their 2nd plate. And then you have the arcade machines sitting either in the corner or maybe in the hallway or entrance walkway before you actually step foot inside the restaurant. They've probably been there since like the late 90s, early 2000s. And somehow those machines are either completely broken or they have that one game that cost a quarter and hasn't been updated since the early 2000s. But every kid still walks over and presses every button anyway, just to confirm if it works or not. And then you enter finally, once you pay, because a lot of times you have to pay before you enter the dining room. And the giant buffet stretching across the wall like you need binoculars to see the other side of the restaurant. The heat lamp keeping everything warm, the little signs above every dish. I love when they like try to like modify the names. Like instead of calling it mac and cheese, they call it like cheese noodles or something like that, or like noodles with cheese. And then you have the hibachi station in the back, where somebody's cooking with the same calm expression, no matter how many people are standing there in their line for their food. And then the hibachi guy might be one of the most calmest people on earth and has the patience of a saint. You could have 15 people standing there asking for noodles, steak, chicken, shrimp, and vegetables, and he's just flipping food like he's been training for this exact moment for his entire life. And then there's the smell, because every single Chinese buffet has a smell. And if you've been to one, you know exactly what smell I'm talking about. That smelly smell that smells smelly. The second you walk through those buffet doors, you're hit with a combination of fried food, garlic, soy sauce, and whatever's been baking under those heat lamps for who knows how long. You smell the egg rolls coming out the fryer, the fried rice cooking on the flat top, the sweet smell of that General Tso's chicken, the hibachi grill going crazy in the back, and somehow all of those things combined into one are just something impossible to describe, but instantly recognizable. It's not a smell that you're going to get at a fancy-dancy restaurant. It's not trying to be one of those restaurants. It smells like a Chinese buffet. And the crazy thing is, even if you haven't been to one in years, the second you walk inside, you can walk in with a blindfold on, and your brain will remember exactly where you are. It's like a time machine. You're not just smelling the food, you're smelling a memory. And then there's the sound, because every Chinese buffet has its own soundtrack. You hear the plates clanking, the silverware hitting those little metal holders at the bar, the sound of the people scraping the last bit of fried rice off their plate, families talking, having a good time, kids asking, "When can I get ice cream?" Someone laughing from across the room, the tongs hitting the metal trays at the bar, the sizzle from the hibachi grill in the back, and the bootleg soundtrack played over the stereo system. But underneath all of it, there's this constant background noise. It's not loud, it's not chaotic, it's just simply alive. And it's the sound of people eating. And that's what makes it different. It's not a quiet, upscale restaurant where everybody is trying to look sophisticated. It's families talking, kids being kids, people laughing, having a good time, enjoying themselves. Everybody is there for the same reason, to eat, hang out, and have a good time. And that's why Chinese buffets feel like they're a time capsule, because while everything else around it changes, they somehow are able to stay the same. You can walk in one day and it almost feels like exactly what it did 15 or 20 years ago, and that's rare. But here's where things get interesting. Chinese buffets survive while a lot of other restaurants and buffet chains have disappeared. Think about it. Old school American buffets like Old Country Buffet, huge chains like Golden Corral, a lot of them are completely gone out of business or closed a lot of their locations. So how does a Chinese buffet survive? Well, because they're not just restaurants, they're a business model. What a lot of people don't realize is that many Chinese buffets are family-owned businesses. They're not giant corporations with executives sitting in an office somewhere. A lot of these restaurants were built by immigrant families who worked incredibly hard to create something. The owners are often working in the restaurant on a daily basis. They're cooking, they're cleaning, they're managing, they're hosting, they're serving. They might even be your cashier, doing whatever needs to get done to keep the business thriving and surviving. And whether people realize it or not, Chinese buffets are one of the biggest examples of immigrant entrepreneurship in America. Somebody took a risk, built a business, created jobs, and became part of the community. Now let's talk about the actual business model of Chinese buffets. How does an all-you-can-eat food not completely decimate a restaurant financially? Well, that's because humans are predictable. Every person walks in thinking, today's the day, I'm going to get my money's worth out of this buffet. We all say this. We've all been guilty of this. Every single one of us. We walk into a Chinese buffet with the confidence of a competitive eater, and then 30 minutes later, we're sitting at the table, unbuttoning our pants or unbuckling our belt, questioning every decision we made since birth because we're so full. Because the reality is, most people don't eat as much as they think they will. The first plate's always a responsible plate, right? A little bit of chicken, a little bit of rice and vegetables here and there. You're pretending that you eat like a balanced adult. And then plate number 2 happens. Suddenly, you've got fried chicken wings next to sushi, next to noodles, piled on top of pizza. You're creating the worst food combination in human history. And Chinese buffets know this. They're not betting on the person who eats 7 plates. They're betting on the average customer. There's a finite number of customers that can eat $800 worth of food in one sitting before they're escorted out of the establishment. Most people are going to eat 1 or 2 plates at most, pay their bill, and leave. But I think the biggest reason why Chinese buffets have survived isn't just the business model, it's the feeling. Because a buffet represents something people don't get as much anymore: abundance. Everything today feels restricted when you go to a modern restaurant. You're paying higher prices, receiving smaller portions. You have extra fees, subscriptions, having to download an app to get access to the restaurant, or at least exclusive deals and coupons they don't offer in store. You're ultimately paying more and receiving less every time you show up to a modern day restaurant. And then you walk into a Chinese buffet. You pay one price, unlimited choices. You feel like you've won the lottery when you step foot into a Chinese buffet. They feel more American than even most American restaurants do. Chinese buffets have become traditions. Birthday dinners, family gatherings, Sunday lunches, team celebrations, first dates, you name it. Almost everybody has a Chinese buffet story. And I can't talk about a Chinese buffet without mentioning the dessert section, because every Chinese buffet dessert area is basically the same. You have an assortment of cookies, pudding, jello, little cake squares, the cut up banana with the red drizzle stuff on top that looks like ketchup. Maybe you'll get a soft serve ice cream that either works perfectly or sounds like it's fighting for its life. There's no in between. Or even the self-serve scooped ice cream in the freezer that's called cookie creamy instead of cookies and cream. There's always something there to satisfy your sweet tooth at a Chinese buffet dessert area. And then, of course, the honorable mention, the fortune cookies. Because what is a Chinese buffet without the little basket of fortune cookies sitting by the register, or the waiter or waitress bringing your table the exact amount of fortune cookies per how many people are with you at your table? Everybody does the same thing, right? You grab one on the way out, or you take one off the receipt, you crack it open, and you read your fortune. And somehow, that tiny piece of paper inside has 3 things: a prediction about your future, a set of lucky numbers, and a random Chinese word that you are now apparently supposed to know. And let's be honest, the fortune is usually something incredibly vague. You know, great success is coming your way. You will find happiness in unexpected places. An exciting opportunity is approaching. And then you're sitting there thinking, wow, thanks, fortune cookie. Very specific. But then you look at the lucky numbers, and for about 5 seconds, everybody thinks, wait, should I play these? Because what if the cookie just gave you the winning lottery numbers? What if this little 10-cent cookie is about to change your life? And then there's the Chinese word. You learn one word, you feel like you've expanded your cultural knowledge, and then immediately you forget it before you get into your own car. But that's part of the charm. The fortune cookie isn't really about predicting your future, it's about the ritual. It's the final little tradition, the finishing touch of the full Chinese buffet experience. You finish your meal, you're completely stuffed, and you're probably questioning why you got that 4th plate. And then you walk out with a tiny cookie, a questionable prediction, some lucky numbers, and one Chinese word you'll probably never use. And somehow, that makes the experience complete. So the next time you step foot inside of a Chinese buffet, don't just look at the food, look at the bigger picture. You're looking at a business model that has survived decades of change. You're looking at a piece of American culture. You're looking at a place built around human psychology. You're looking at a place where people still come together. And maybe that's why Chinese buffets have survived where many other restaurants before it have failed. Because they're not just selling food, they're selling choice. They're selling value. And they're ultimately selling an unforgettable experience. Well, guys, that wraps up the first episode of the Below Ground podcast. What is your favorite Chinese buffet restaurant? My personal favorite is the Blossom Buffet in West Columbia, South Carolina. And if there's another random topic you want me to dig beneath the surface on, let me know in the comments section below. Because that's what this podcast is all about. Taking things we see every day and asking, what is really going on underneath? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel. I'll catch you guys in the next episode.